How it do, baby?
Max Holloway is a bad man. So bad that in a fight he was dominating Justin Gaethje for 5 rounds, decides, fuck it, let's just throw him in the middle of the octagon to end it.
That was poetic. Can't write this.
Max Holloway is the topic of discussion today, and I will be breaking down the Bless Express, so feel free to use the chapters below, but let's begin. Max Holloway was the youngest fighter on the UFC roster when he made his debut in an injury replacement at UFC 143, all the way back in 2012, where he went up against Dustin Poirier. He lost the fight via submission, but in that first fight at 20 years old, everybody saw the potential this kid had to become the next star. The Hawaiian-born fighter didn't even have a proper striking coach for the first couple fights in the UFC, and Max even stated on the Joe Rogan podcast,
I never had a striking coach for, my first 7 fights in the UFC.
So what did you do for striking?
You know, the UFC game? I would use Renan Barao and Jose Aldo, and I would do stuff with them. I'd be like, oh yeah, this works in the game. So my friend at the time, Dustin Kimura, he would kind of hold mids for me, and I would be like, look, I tried this in the game and it was working. Let's try it.
That is so insane to think about, but that's what makes Max Holloway, in his own words, him. And it's so funny to think that Max Holloway has grown up essentially in the octagon, and we have just seen a continual progression, not only in his skills, but what makes him him. I know I just said that twice, but it's so weird to think about. And after a decision loss to a rising Conor McGregor, Max Holloway essentially went on an 11-fight win streak that saw him defeat the likes of Cub Swanson, Charles Oliveira, Jeremy Stevens, Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo twice, Brian Ortega, whom he literally gave blocking lessons and how to defend a punch mid-fight until he went up against Dustin Poirier again and lost in a decision. When you want to talk about featherweight GOATs, Max Holloway has to be on your list because he has probably fought your favorite featherweight and beaten him or knocked him out. There's only one man that he could not shake, and that was Alexander Volkanovski. Now, personally, I am a huge Volk fan, but I wish that Max could have gotten a read on Volk, as the first 2 fights were very close into the third, where Volk just showed why there are levels to why he is the champion. Now, between these fights with Volk, Max did not slow down one bit, with wins over Frankie Edgar, Yair Rodriguez, Arnold Allen, Calvin Kattar, which he broke the record for significant strikes in a single fight.
Turn it up! I'm the best boxer you see, baby! The best boxer!
Just to then go on against Korean Zombie, where he knocked him out into retirement. And more recently, knocking out the baddest motherfucker we have seen in the UFC at the buzzer during UFC 300. Now, I can go on and on about the records he holds, such as most time as a featherweight in the cage, or knockouts in championship fights for featherweight, but let me just show you how good the Bless Express truly is. His boxing is super crispy, and yeah, he does take some punches, but Max's chin has been tested time and time again, and it wasn't until the Justin Gaethje fight, where he's going up a whole different weight class, that he finally got a knockdown counted against them. And given this is a fight where he is dominating as well. The thing is, with Max Holloway, his combos seem to come out of a video game. That's how technical he has become. And it's funny because he used the game to learn his combos, but a lot of people said he had pillow hands, which, let me remind you this. Max Holloway has the most finishes in the featherweight division and in the featherweight title fights. So that does not make any sense. Max's style is not to knock you out with one punch. It is to slowly punish the other fighter with relentless pressure and what seems like a tapping punch.
Every fight I go in there, I just go in there, I open the door, and, when you're ready to give up, I'll grab your hand, walk you to the door, give you a pat on the butt, and say, thank you, come again.
You don't realize what's coming at you until you see 1, 2 into the body. Max mixes it up like no other fighter has, and he's not looking again for that one-punch knockout. He is looking to methodically break you down, where then you walk into that punch. Max doesn't really use kicks too often, even though we have seen it the recent fights. It's funny because the beginning of his career, he really used kicks, and then the last 3 fights, we've seen him kind of use the kicks again, but he's opted more for this traditional boxing approach with more combos with the hands. And honestly, it's working. Why would you switch it up? If Max is going to throw a kick, it's usually at the end of a combination, or it's to throw off the rhythm of the other fighter. Because Max is super long, He likes to sit behind that jab as his defensive adjustment to those advancing fighters, and with that jab, it comes with that circling technique to regain that octagon control. So Max not only understands the distance that he needs to be at, understands the octagon control that you have to have, as well as what to throw, when to throw, against whom you should throw it. Max's combinations are truly what sets him apart, and more specifically, that right hand has sent fighters into another realm, whether it is the Jose Aldo, whether it is the Justin Gaethje. Even Cub Swanson got rocked by him and then got choked out by Max. If you want to talk about the positives of Max Holloway, I can go on days talking how good he is boxing, how good he is apparently with a spinning kick. I could not understand it until I started watching back. He did it against Volkanovski. He's doing it against these fighters that it just throws everything off, because you don't expect someone that's so boxing heavy to throw a kick. And while he doesn't really teep as much as you'd like, he does it in different ways. And the positives of Max Holloway are just that. He likes to advance. He likes to throw. We all know who Max Holloway is. He's one for the fighters. He's one for the fans. He likes to see and he likes to be in a cage fight. And he even says that he doesn't like when everything's going well. He likes to be in the chaos. So that leads me into the negatives of Max Holloway. But before I get there, I'm going to title this section as BMF. And if you don't know BMF, it's the baddest motherfucker. And Max Holloway is a true BMF. And he has been his whole career. This man has fought everyone in front of him, and he did it with a smile on his face. More recently, in a fight that he's dominating Justin Gaethje, he points to the ground and says, "Let's give the people what they want." He had almost nothing to gain with everything to lose, and that is exactly what a BMF is. The thing is, he's done it his whole career. He's given what the people want. He's continued to point down and throw absolute haymakers. Watch back the fights. The last 10 seconds, he will point down and say, yeah, let's do it right now. He could get knocked out, sure. But like I said earlier, his chin has been battle tested, and this man is one for the people. You come to watch him fight, and this dude's like, I'm going to fight for you. 10 seconds left. I'm going to give you every single thing I have. And that Justin Gaethje knockout, man, has to be one of the best knockouts that we have seen ever. I say it's a top 5 of all time, top 3 to be honest, of all time. Now, some people think that Max Holloway is a little cocky in the octagon.
And now this is just my ticket to Jose Waldo. Hashtag where's Jose Waldo? Let me know when you guys find him. I'll be waiting.
With his showboating or celebrating after a punch landing, but I just attribute to Max being in a flow state, and you could see it. I mean, against Calvin Kattar, screaming he's the best boxer in the UFC. He is the best boxer in the UFC, and as he's saying that, he's slipping a punch. As he's saying that, he's leaning, he's bobbing, he's weaving. You're gonna say that man isn't? So yeah, you could be cocky. You land a 1-2, you knock someone on their ass, do a little wobble. That's cool, but a lot of people kind of think that he's a little show off, and I don't like that. I think he's exactly where he needs to be. He's in flow state. He's not doing anybody harm. He shows a tremendous amount of respect to every opponent. But when you get in the octagon with him, this man is an absolute menace, and at this rate, already a guaranteed Hall of Famer. Now back to the breakdown. Max's cons, while there aren't many, there's still some to look at. Now the leg kicks are apparent, and Volkanovski threw a ton of them in the 3 fights that showed that Max could be slowed down, and more noticeably to that front leg. Max was getting low kicked and circled, and in that fight, Volk would dip under that right hand I was talking about, and he would land to the body, which would also slow Max down. It's so weird because it seems like only Volk has been able to solve Max, but when we look at that specific fight, it's so tough to analyze. Volk wasn't buying into the feints, and he was also looking for takedowns, which Max has not really faced too often. When you fight Max Holloway, it's going to be a you throw, I hope to land type of night, and the takedowns from Max will only come with Max rocking the other fighter. Most of the time, the fight gets to the ground after Max wobbles a guy, and then he gets their back and ground and pounds. The ground game is definitely something that Max could work on, but why would he when the rest of the division is seemingly not too concerned with utilizing it properly? Now, with the BMF title, he could see those fighters that mix it up a lot and use that ground game, which I would love to see Max add in, as yes, he is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. It would be nice to see him add that to his arsenal, but at this stage of his career, man, do what got you here. Do what got you the championships. You could take down, sure, why not, but
This is my night because the best is blessed. And Blessed Era is full effect. Blessed Express is coming to town. Don't get off the stop here and let's keep going.
I don't think a ground game is really going to help him too late in his career, but that is something he could work on. So the negatives surely don't take away from Max's aura, but the little minute details can always be refined. So this leads me to ask, who is Max Holloway? He is a future Hall of Famer in the featherweight division that has now held 2 belts off the back of crispy boxing, excellent footwork, and Octagon presence. And while he has one boogeyman in Alexander Volkanovski, that does not take away the fact that Max Holloway has always been a bad motherfucker, just recognized now with one of the best finishes we have ever seen against Justin Gaethje. There's no better way to explain who Max is than from Max himself.
All I gotta say, I'm him. I'm him, guys.
And personally, I love Max Holloway. So if you guys made it this far, thank you for watching. Again, this is what I was talking about when I wanted to get some gear for you guys. So if you guys want something like this, make sure to comment it. We'll be sure to get some out to some people. But thank you guys for being a part of this journey with us. And as always, it's been Studs.